what is always tricky for me is that having, trying to relay this in a way that is a broader message. I can talk about this stuff all day long, but really then being able to pull out that value proposition and talk about that in a meaningful way, that is tricky for me, and it always has been.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm Laura Ora, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. How on earth do you talk about what you do? Listen, if you've ever struggled to explain your business in a way that makes people get it, and maybe more importantly, buy from you, then you're not alone. In this special coaching episode of the Gutsy Podcast, I sat down with Lindsay White, who's a leadership coach and strategic HR consultant, to help her refine the way that she talks about her business. We simplified her message, we made her offer crystal freaking clear, and we shifted from industry jargon to words that truly connected with her and her brand. And why does this matter? Not only does it make it easier for her, but people don't buy confusion, they buy clarity. By the way, if you are in an area of your life or your business where it feels like you're walking through the mud, you could use some clarity, some simplification, and honestly, some fresh eyes to help you see what you can't see so that you can move forward, then I encourage you to apply to get coached live here on the Gutsy Podcast. And the cool thing about this is it's a twofer, because not only do you get the solutions that help you move forward, but your story and your circumstance and situation helps to inspire and guide others to move through something similar. If you're ready to make your next gutsy move, go to thegutsypodcast.com and apply to be coached on the show. All right, my friend, let's get into it. We've got some messaging to clarify. So what brings us together today, my friend?
Yeah, I would love some coaching on some of the messaging, because I'm really shifting the way I talk about what I do. I don't know, not necessarily shifting exactly what I do. In fact, I think if I've done this right, it's even more resonant around what I've actually always done. But what I've really worked on, and this is an outcome of really listening to the clients that I already work with. And also, I think listening to the market is, shifting how I talk about the two things that I do the very best. And the first one being leadership coaching. And then the second one being strategic HR consulting, is what I would call it. And what I have come to recognize over the last several months is that first and foremost, a lot of the female entrepreneurs and small business owners I want to work with, they don't actually think about themselves as a leader, often until it's too late, right? Till they've kind of put themselves in a position where they have no choice but to be one. And then the other thing is that, coaching is a very intimate and connected relationship. You know this. And so selling coaching is a bit tricky, especially in a marketplace where everybody calls themselves a coach, and many of them are nothing of the sort. And so what I've actually really consciously chosen to do is shift to lead with the messaging around the fractional or the strategic HR partnership work that I do, which is so crucial to a small and growing organization, right? It is so often ignored when it comes to the strategic level work. We'll have a business plan, a marketing strategy, we'll have a capital plan, we'll have a growth strategy, but we forget that the things that make that all happen are the humans, the talent, and we don't plan strategically in our small organizations for those people and how we want to manage that. And then again, we forget about how we're going to lead them. Like that's something that is often overlooked, again, until it's too late. And so that's what I want to shift to, is focusing on that first. And then the leadership consulting or coaching fits in underneath that. So it's this idea of, selling people the chocolate and feeding them the broccoli, essentially.
Got it. Okay. So how have you been talking about your services up to this point?
So a lot of what I've talked about has I've led with the leadership and the leadership coaching, right? That you need, in order to grow your business effectively, it starts with you and your leadership. And I don't think that that's untrue. And I think people resonate with that. But what I uncovered is that my client is often seeing the leadership coaching as a luxury item, right? They'd rather focus on the things in their business that they can fix, and that's because, budgetary restrictions, right? We all have finite dollars. But also, again, the message around leadership and you're a leader often doesn't resonate. It's not a label they use. And so to me, that's part of the issue is it's not that women aren't nodding their head and saying, yes, I need to be a better leader, but I need to fix these other things in my business first. I can't be a better leader until I have help. I can't be a better leader until I fix this organizational piece. I can't be a bet, right? And so that has been a little bit trickier to have that conversation and create traction for me.
I can see that a mile away because people have a hard time owning their own space.
Hmm.
They want to invest in their people, they want to run a sound group, they want, people to be happy and successful, and they put themselves on the back burner, especially if you're working with women.
Yeah,
Guess what we're doing? Putting everybody else's stuff before our own. But isn't it interesting though that the work that you do with them directly affects all of those things?
100%.
So it's the switching and the framing of how you're communicating with them to get them to see this from a different angle.
Right.
Got it. Okay. So what are some things that you're considering?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that I'm considering is, shifting the offer. So it's not about one-on-one leadership coaching or group coaching. It really is a more robust offer that focuses on still one-on-one time with me. Because I'll tell you that's the work I love, right? I love one-on-one coaching. I really do. And I do think that there is value in that. But framing that one-on-one space around what are the issues or problems you're encountering in your business from that strategic talent space. Let's spend one-on-one time talking about that. Let's include in the offer an opportunity to be a part of a community. Because I think, you and I hear over and over again, being an entrepreneur and small business owner is lonely, it's isolating,
Yeah.
right? So we all want to be a part of a valuable community. And then let's add into that opportunities to talk and problem solve about specific issues, but also talk about strategic opportunities inside. So I've created an offer that encompasses all of those things, all, sort of all in one, which is the newest thing that I want to talk about.
Perfect. I love this. You're 100% right. Running a business, being a leader, being the one in the front, so to speak,
Yeah,
it's a place of its own, and most people don't want to be out on the island by themselves. They want to be seen, they want to be supported, and they really crave and thrive in community.
100%. 100%.
When you know that you're not alone, I
Yeah.
don't know, it just makes everything so much easier when you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one. Oh, you have experienced this too. Well, how did you approach that? How did you get through that? What do you recommend?
Yes.
That energy shifts everything around you.
Yeah. There's a lot of power in that peer coaching and mentorship. There's a lot of power in having a group that even if we're talking about one person's problem, likely the solution or the way we get to the solution is a value add to everyone else that is listening. Might not have exactly the same problem, but oh, wait a minute, I can use that process or ask that same question in a way that's slightly different. And that gives me a new perspective on what I might be challenged with as I'm growing my business and my team. And so, like, there's really compounding value in having a small but really powerful group that all is approaching it from the same philosophy. I want to grow a really great team. I want to create a great place to work, and I want to be a high impact leader. That's how I know my business is going to grow and scale. Right. And so when you have a group, particularly a group of women, I mean, you and I, we can really see and even feel the power in that. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's invaluable.
Yeah.
Dare I say it's invaluable. So let me ask you this. Where are you looking for some clarity or guidance around this particular messaging? What is the sticking point, or where can I support you the best?
Yeah, so I think for me is, yeah, how do I talk about the value? Because that's particularly where I always get stuck. Talk about the value in an offer that includes one-on-one time that can be a focus on strategic, people approach or leadership development, include a group include and I'm also including in this offer access to all of my tools, my workshops, all of the pieces that I use as a 20-year HR professional, right? All the things, right? From just the way I design job descriptions all the way through to recruitment strategy and planning, right? Like all the things. How do I talk about the value in that? And I think actually, in fact, we've already started to uncover some of those pieces. But that's
Yes.
where I struggle is like, I just see the value and feel the value. I'm not good at explaining the value. Does that make sense?
Oh, it absolutely. Well, you know it like the back of your hand.
Yes.
You're like, this is a no brainer. Clearly,
Yes.
duh.
Yes.
Like, would you like the link to sign up?
Yeah.
The challenge is bridging the gap between somebody that is either new to your world or isn't yet familiar with this, and getting them to also see and understand
Yes.
that value. So you're right. We did start to hash this out. And this is the power of having an out loud conversation instead of trying to rationalize with ourselves, is because you can passionately talk about it and uncover some of the stuff in its own.
Yeah.
So, there's a couple of different pieces here. So let's break down these kind of four pieces: the one on one time, the leadership development, the group access, and the access to all of your tools. What
Mm.
are they going to get out of the one on one time? What problem does this solve for them?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple things that are solved in the one-on-one time. First of all, really being able to dig into specific issues, whether they are related individually, right? I coach the whole person. So is it a personal issue? Perhaps there's a challenge between work and life blend, right? It could be something, like that. It could be something where there's a specific issue managing one of the people on your team, right? So you need to have a very difficult conversation. It could be, I mean, I just had a client yesterday where we talked about very specifically about time management. How did we want to decide between what was urgent and what was important? And where that, how we leverage that kind of a matrix. So it could be something very individual and very specific. It could be something very philosophical, but also deeply challenging, like I'm struggling to set real boundaries. Okay, well, but what are your values? What do you care about the most? Those are the things we protect with boundaries. So if we're struggling to protect and hold boundaries, what's underpinning those things? Like let's uncut. So there's deep work to uncover some very personal pieces that may in fact be showing up very much in your business. I think there's also opportunities to talk about very strategic level things. What is your vision for the business? Let's grow that. Let's get very granular with it so that you can then bring that back to the team as part of the story that you're telling. What does it look like for you to be a CEO? What does that mean for you? What is authentic for you as you grow in that leadership approach? So again, some very business focused, but also some very deeply personal pieces that, the one-on-one time enables us to get really deeply into.
So I love this because as you're talking, what I hear from you is that these people don't have anyone else to talk to about this stuff. Everyone's turning to them for answers and clarity and guidance and vision. But who is that for them?
Yes.
Who do they have to turn to?
They have. Who's
It's just
asking them the beautiful questions, right? Who is challenging them to think beyond what they know today? Who is holding up the mirror when they do something awesome to really celebrate? Because so often we don't stop to celebrate. We just got to get back to work because there's a thousand other things to do, right? And so that's what that deep, meaningful coaching work is so valuable in, especially when we think about our leadership growth, right?
there's your messaging right there.
Beautiful.
I
Yeah.
mean, you all you have to do is listen back to your own episode because you're worded you're
No, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect.
because you nailed it on the head. You are that mirror, you're that celebratory person, you are the one that challenges and questions them, you're the one that helps to stretch their growth when they see it from that perspective versus leadership coaching. I
Yeah.
mean, the energy difference is night and day
Yeah.
because now they're not seeing it as like, oh, it's this extra special thing that I'm going to do for myself, which that could be a reason enough, but we know that we fight that, right? But when we look at it through like, oh, I get to be challenged in a way that then helps and supports the team.
Yes.
I get someone to say, hey, great job at doing this. I get to say, hey, I have to have this really hard conversation. Could I just run this by you real quick?
Yeah.
Because I've never done this before. I mean, that shit is invaluable.
Yeah.
So when you're framing it through those messaging, I mean, on your website and when you're talking about it in social, those things that you were mentioning, that's your content. That's going
Right.
to help your leaders say, "Oh my gosh, I could totally use someone like her
Yeah.
because I don't have anyone in my life currently like that."
Well, and you get a two for one. Because again, this isn't just stuff in your business. This is how you show up in your personal life too, right? So you actually get double the value out of one conversation because the tools, the techniques, the ideas, the concepts are applicable in all your relationships, professional or otherwise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so the one-on-one time and the leadership development kind of go hand in hand, right? They're essentially one of the same.
Yeah, I think I mean, that's really where you're going to do a lot of that deep work.
So let's move into the group stuff then,
Oh,
because that has its own benefits and power. So talk to me a little bit about what are they getting when they come into the group? What are some of the like kind of the emotional things that they're receiving from it? Not just the tactical things, but the emotional things.
yeah. I mean, I think, number one, as you say that, is connection, right? And I think, we already talked about that. It's very isolating and lonely when you're running a small business. You don't feel like you have anyone to speak with, especially if you're like me and you don't have a family of entrepreneurs, right? Like that's not the family that I come from. So in particular, I noticed that they don't understand what I'm doing. Many of my friends are not entrepreneurs, so they don't, they can't comprehend. And so even if they are, right, you need a group of people, again, that are all in it to win it. They all approach the work and the running of their business with a similar philosophy, which is I want this to be a place where people belong. I want them to show up and deliver their best. I want our clients to love us. We want to create an exceptional experience. And I want to lead with impact. Okay, well, if we all approach our work, even if the work is very different, if we all approach it the same way, then ultimately what we're doing is approaching the problem solving and the conversations from a very similar philosophy. We all bring different life experiences, right? We all come from different backgrounds. We've all started our businesses for different reasons. So we have a lot to offer and bring to the table for each other. And so I think in that connection, in that community, there's a lot of collective wisdom. That's what women bring to communities is collective wisdom. If nothing else, just having a group of people that deeply understand what you're up against.
Yes. Yes. So the messaging is not around, you know, having a group to talk to. It's about connecting with like-minded women that have infinite wisdom to share, resources, stories, life experiences, tools and techniques.
Yeah.
Lean on the other women that get you.
Yeah. Right. And you don't just get me, you get mentorship from 16 other women. Right. Again, the power of that is immeasurable.
How does that help to expedite their growth or their journey?
Yeah, because I think it expedites it again because you get access to like an exponential amount of experience, an exponential amount of ideas, an exponential number of eyes on the problem, if you will. And I think you'd have to go and have all of those as different conversations. You get them all at once. Beyond that, you get a group of people, and because I think this is hard. I hear this a lot. You probably do too. Nobody cares about my business as much as I do. Well, now you have a community of people that care about that they understand that because they care about their business as much as you do, right? And so the level of interest and commitment and intention is astronomical because you're all in it together. And so, yeah, you're going to get all sorts of incredible ideas, thoughts that you would never thought of, questions that nobody's ever asked you, right? Perspectives that you may never have considered because they look at the world differently than you do, different, differently than I do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. See that this is it. This is the goodness because I want to share with you that I wonder if in the past you've led with the tactical and the mind, where now you're being called to shift and to speak from the heart and the connection.
Yeah, I think that's possible. Yeah.
Neither one is right or wrong. It's just different. You're shifting into a different season.
Yeah.
You're shifting into a deeper level of connection, is where what I'm sensing for you is coming out of the head and dropping down further into the heart. I mean, I think that knowing you in a short period of time, there's always been a huge part of your heart in everything that you do. That's not a question. But I think the shift that you're feeling is dropping down from your mind and the tactical and the strategic stuff
Yeah.
deeper down into the feels, the emotion, the heart, the connection from what these women are really looking for. And as you're
Mhm.
talking about these things out loud, this is what they want to hear.
Yeah.
They want to hear themselves in it. They want to see themselves in it. They don't want to, the tactical stuff is important eventually to know, like, okay, you're also getting XYZ black and white, but it's really that connection.
Mm.
It's the access to infinite wisdom. It's being able to, hop online or pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm having a problem. What do you think?
Yeah.
I have a new idea. Can I get your input?
Yeah.
I'm about to have this conversation. I could use a little oomph. Can anybody give me some words of wisdom?
Yeah.
That type of connection and accessibility
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah. Connection and accessibility, those are great words. I mean, and as part of this program, I offer, full access to me, right? So 2 hours a month, one-on-one work. But I say to all of my clients, you can reach out to me at any time, right? And in a way that is authentic, whether it's a voice note or a text message or an email, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible because there are moments in between like formal sessions where just being able to ask a few questions or have a chat back and forth is actually incredibly valuable and creates the answer and away you go. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait, right? But also having sort of office hours every week, right? So having regular availability where anyone in the group can come and bring all sorts of different questions, right? What are you struggling with? What are you playing with? What's the new idea? What's, what are you challenged with internally to your business, but also in terms of being a working woman, right?
Yeah.
Spaces for all of those pieces I think are really important. And that's why I've built this program the way I did.
Well, I think it's beautiful and it's so needed and has so much value to it. I mean, it's depth beyond depth. And so there's one last piece with it, which is the access to the tools. Talk to me a little bit about the benefits of having access to those tools.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these are tools, systems, programs that I've used over the last almost 20 years working in HR. So the first piece is, they're professionally built. These are tried, tested, and true, right? They are pieces that I use. So, for example, I started my career almost 20 years ago in recruitment. I have run thousands of recruitment competitions. I have hired thousands of people in my career, everything from frontline workers to senior executives. So I have a recruitment system, a framework that is easily adaptable. I've got the tools and the assets inside of it. For example, how to write a really compelling job description that actually attracts the right talent, the person that you want in your business. I write those job descriptions in a very different way than you would see on LinkedIn or Indeed right now today. And they work. We ask candidates when they apply, why did you apply for the job? Because I read the job description and it felt like the perfect fit for me. That's exactly what we're looking for. It's not rocket science, it's just methods and tools that I've used that actually create really great results, right? So it's things like that that you don't have to go and fumble around for. You don't even have to go and ask ChatGPT for, right? They're right there. It's workshops. So one of my most well-subscribed workshops is about how to have courageous conversations. That's how I label them. Because they require courage. Well, instead of having a real panic attack because you have to go and deliver difficult information to someone, I have a workshop and I have the tools inside of that workshop. You can go and watch that. And then if you need more support because you really want to customize that conversation or you want to do a bit of a role play, well, then you bring that to your one-on-one session, right? But if you feel confident and comfortable after you watch the workshop, well, then away you go, right? So these are things that I do and teach and coach and consult on a regular basis, right? So all of those pieces are included. And, I'm one of those people that if there is something that you need, well, we'll build it. And then chances are somebody else probably needs it too. So there's actually an opportunity to co-create inside of the program because I won't have every single thing that everybody will want all at once. So I think that there's a really unique opportunity to actually create the things that you really need.
Amazing. The thing that I pulled as you were talking is professionally built tools to streamline and manage your team
Yeah.
is kind of the high note that I took from that.
Yes.
Just knowing that you have access to these things, you're not finding some random template online, you're not piecemealing stuff together, you're not second guessing like um is this the right thing to say? Is this how I should do things? Right? Like, there's some delicate lines that you have to be really careful of when you're talking about teams and building systems and processes and
Yes.
hiring and firing and all that kind of stuff. I
Yes.
mean, there are lines, and
Yes.
knowing that you have access to professionally built tools that are um they're resources, and
Yes.
they're valid,
Yeah.
and they're customizable to you,
Yes.
voila, done
Yes.
for you basically.
Yeah. Or at the very least done with you,
Yeah.
right? So that you get the program or the process that you need and it's bespoke to your business and crafted in such a way that it can grow with your business as it continues to scale, right? Performance management programs that are based on the values that you want to drive in your business, the behaviors that make those values real, and creates rewards, monetary rewards for those values that are the most important and those key metrics that you want to drive. Because you got to match up the two, right? It can't be all about sales, can't be all about money, because we know what happens. Salespeople will do a lot of things to make the sale, and not all of them will subscribe to your value of, for example, integrity. We want to create sales, but we want to do it in the right way, right? And so, yeah, we custom craft performance management programs so that you can reward the right behaviors and you can have really robust conversations and connect that to rewards that are meaningful for every person on your team. That's the stuff you do in big matrixed organizations. That's where I learned how to do it. And I can take the same philosophy and the same structure and make it work in a small team of 25.
Yeah. I
Right?
wonder, I'm kind of curious. Do they usually come in knowing what their business values are, or is that something that you explore with them?
Yeah, you know what? It's about six of one, half dozen of another.
Okay.
Sometimes I have clients come in and they've done that work. They're very clear on their vision, their mission, their values. Sometimes there's work to be done. The values are very articulate, but the behaviors are not, right? So saying that you have a value of integrity is great. How do you demonstrate you have integrity in your business? Everybody's definition and the behaviors are going to be slightly different. Sort of the generic one is, we do the right thing for our client even when it's not profitable. Okay, what does that look like? What does that look like? Right? We have to define that because that's the behavior, that's the marker. Then we can use to set for performance in our organization. Right? So some of them come to me and they have no idea what those things are, and we have to uncover them. Well, that's kind of a fun process, right? Let's talk about what does great work look like inside your business? What makes you proud when you see it? What's important to you in the way you show up for your clients? Right? Oh, okay. Yeah, those are your values. Okay, now let's start to build from there. And what do the people in your business value? Right? So if you are all aligned, then that's when you get real momentum out of things like values. How are you leveraging your vision? How do you talk about what you're building? How do you enroll people in that mission? What are you trying to change in the world? And how do the people on your team feel about that mission to make that change? Oh, well, I've never used it like that before. Okay, well, that's what gets people up in the morning. That's why people want to work here, is because you're changing the world by doing that thing.
Right.
Let's talk about that, right?
So it could be really interesting. What do you think about offering that type of session as part of your onboarding?
Yeah, totally.
Because I can see that as being such a foundational conversation, like that feels exciting to me in my body. Like, oh, that's so much clarity in such a short period of time,
Ah,
and we're gonna knock that out first,
yeah.
so that everything we do after this is built off of that foundation.
No, you know what? I really love that. And that was something that I was thinking about, is that there needs to be sort of a 2 hour, I don't know if you want to call it a discovery session, maybe there's a better label for it. But yes, where you could really get, okay, what are the foundational pieces in your business? What, vision, mission, values, let's talk about behaviors. What's going well right now? Where are you finding success? What is difficult or tricky? What is getting in the way? What's tripping you and the team up? Right? Where do you see this going? How do you want to show up in your business? Like, I think there's got to be something real personal in that too. What's the work you love to do? What's the work that you don't love to do, but you end up spending a lot of time on? That's a big one, right? How do you want to keep connected to this work as your business grows? Right? What's your vision for the team? What does this group actually end up looking like to you? Let's work on some of those. Those are strategic level conversations we so often don't have time for.
Yeah. Well, they need someone to help extract this out of them.
Yeah.
They've been in the trenches
Yes.
for probably too long,
Yeah.
and to come up out and have these conversations with themselves is not always as motivating as someone like you saying, "Hey, for 2 hours, I got you.
Yes.
I'm going to take over the leadership role."
Yeah.
Without saying so many words, but I'm going to take over the leadership role, and
Oh,
I'm going to let you dream again.
yes.
I'm going to let you cast a vision again. I'm going to
Yeah.
help you come up out and put your head back up in the clouds and talk to me about what you see and what's meaningful to you, and where do you see this going? Right? And I'm getting chills right now. So we're on to something here. They That verbiage around coming up out of the trenches and let me take the reins for a couple hours and let me help extract this information out of you, so that we're
Yeah.
building a really strong foundation, so that everything we do here on after is built upon this foundation.
Yeah. And you know what? I think there is that, not the, it's not release. What's the word that I'm looking for? Where you really hand it over, right? Oh, it's going to come to me after we've stopped recording, I'm sure. But just that opportunity to like set down the big pieces of the responsibility for a period of time,
Yeah.
so that you can really dream again. You can be reconnected to that passion and that vision that we all have when we start these crazy little businesses. And you're right, we get so far away from that sometimes and so frustrated in the process of trying to connect the doing and the being, right? There's a lot of tension in between those two things. And just being able to like really hand that over, so that you can get back to that place where you're really passionate. You're right. There's something really powerful there.
That right there. There what that's your fucking headline right there.
Ah, yeah,
Seriously, if I read that as a solopreneur and I had a team and I just felt weighed down by things and I'm like, gosh, I wish somebody could just help me with this and I'm too in the trenches and I don't know what I'm doing and I wish somebody could just take this for a second. I would be scrolling to find your buy button faster
yeah,
than anybody.
okay.
They it
Yeah,
that's that deeper drop in that I was talking about. That's the kind of verbiage in the
yeah,
messaging that's going to make them be like, "Who are you? Where do I sign up? Can you help me? What's the soonest I can get on your books?"
totally. I was talking with and she's an entrepreneur running a very successful business and growing very quickly. And when I was speaking with her about this offer, and she's like, this is truly the stuff that has been in my head. This is truly the stuff but I don't seem to have the time or the place. I think that's the other part of it, the place to put like to pull this out. And she's like, this is exactly it. I know there needs to be strategy and structure because my business has grown so beautifully. And I know that I'm getting to the point where in order to keep it growing, I got to do something about this. But I just haven't found the right place to do it yet. And so I think that is exactly what you were just saying. There's the right place and space, and I'm the right person to help you get that all out of your head and get it organized in a way that you can actually do something with it. And then I've got the tools and the assets to help you do that.
Boom. There it is.
Beautiful.
There it is.
Super cool.
Those messages, the way you phrase those things, the connection, I'm not a big fan of like pain point marketing, but there's something really beautiful about helping people see and feel heard and understood in the situation that they're in. And
Yes.
the way that you framed it does not feel like pain point marketing to me. It feels
Oh,
like connective marketing to me. Like I get you. I
yes.
understand what you're going through, and I have the tools and the resources to help you get out of it or to help you achieve, to help you get back to why you started this thing in the first place, to help you feel like a confident leader again, to feel like you're not running around with your hair's on fire,
Yeah.
right? To feel more in control and confident within yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thank you for saying that because yes, I do think there's moments where you have to point out that this is what you're experiencing. It is pinching. It's a little pinchy, and here's how I can help you solve it. But yeah, that's not the marketing I want to be known for,
Right.
is that I just constantly prey on people's negative emotions. So you're right. I love this. This isn't about negative stuff. This is what you're really experiencing. And here is a really fabulous solution to help you get after it.
Yes. And with that quick win, if you decide to integrate that foundational kickoff or session or however you want to phrase it, I think that alone could make people be super excited because like now I'm not just like getting into the group and now I got to get acclimated. And there's some fear in going into groups like where do I fall into this and are people already ahead and where am I,
Yeah.
am I gonna click with everybody and all that kind of stuff. I think if you set that foundation up strong with like, hey, here's what we're gonna do first, and
Yeah.
then we'll get you folded in. It's a very hand holding. We're coming in this together. It sets the tone for the brand and the group that you've built.
Yeah. No, I really like that. And I've also thought about, do you make that offer? I mean, this to me, this is a 12-month program. This is a
Mm-hmm.
12-month offer that then gets renewed, right? And so one of the things I've thought about is wouldn't it be great to do every 6 months? Have a couple hours together where you really put your heads together. You really focus on, okay, how far have we come? Because you always need to do reflection. Celebrate the wins. What are we bumping up against now? What's next? And do a refocus. Every 6 months or so, you just do a couple hours where you refocus, right? And just tackle what's happening, but really celebrate. Hey, look at how far you've come. We forget to do that. I forget to do.
Yep,
I don't know. I got a mouse in my pocket this morning. I forget to do that, right? And so, what a great way to be able to just every 6 months pause for a moment and then hit the gas pedal again.
exactly.
Yeah.
Is this open cart meaning it's only open during specific seasons, or is this evergreen meaning you can join at any point?
Yeah, that's a great question. Certainly this is an offer that I want to launch at one point, right? And have I'm thinking this is pretty small group, under 20, maybe even under 15 to start with. But it certainly could be open at least at regular intervals, right? I don't know if it needs to be perpetually open, although I think it could be because everyone, especially with a great launch, as we've just talked about, could come into this program sort of the beginning of every month and really feel confident stepping into the group on a fairly regular basis, right? And just getting into the groove.
Yeah. The reason I ask is that could play into some of the messaging as well, right? Because if you're coming in, if it's only open once a year, you're coming in basically with a cohort. Or if it's open twice a year, coming in with a cohort. So you're like building relationships with that specific group of people and then maybe getting access to the larger group. That's one take. You could do a quarterly open where you're adding people in, on a quarterly basis. So you consistently bringing new people in, but they're kind of coming in with their own mini cohort. Or the other option is evergreen, meaning it's open all the time and you're kind of getting folded in on a one-on-one basis. So there's no right or wrong to that. It's just something to kind of consider and how you want to structure what that looks like for people coming in, because that could play into the messaging.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good question. I don't know if I have a straight up answer to that. So I have
That's
to think
okay. Food for thought.
for thought. Yeah. Yeah, for
Good.
sure.
Good. Did you get the clarity that you needed around your messaging and communicating the value of this amazing program?
Yeah, that was fabulous. Thank you for just creating the space for me to talk about it. Um, I think that was pivotal, and you asked me some great questions, so I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for spending time with me, of course. I hope this episode reminds you that asking for help can be a liberating thing to do. Sometimes we're just so close to the things that we do that we can't even see our blind spots. This problem has been racking Lindsay's brain for weeks, and in 30 minutes together, we were able to simplify her message, make the offer really freaking clear, and then shift it away from any wording that didn't feel like her to get back into her own brand tone.
Thank you. This has really been helpful, not just in the very practical sense, but you do get a little lost as you're building these things. You get in the trenches, you get very tactical. And so having the space to like pop back up 50,000 feet, really get reconnected to why, and the passion for me, that's what's going to make this really meaningful, not just for me, but for everyone that decides to be involved in this program.
Take this as your sign and invitation to apply to get coached here on the Gutsy podcast. One of my specialties is helping you get to the root problem, cause, or answer very quickly and getting a simplified solution so that you can make the gutsy moves to get it done. You can also connect with me to get more bite-sized pieces of information to make gutsy moves in your life. You can find me on all the platforms using @thatlauraora. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.